great. OU, you guys are just one of four teams in the country this year that have three wins or more against AP ranked teams. And I know joining the SEC and being able to play in games like this against Alabama is one of the big reasons why OU joined the SEC. But how different is it these days having to coach in the SEC and get ready for a big game like this? It seems like every couple of weeks compared to in the past.
Yeah, no, just you just realize that the margin for error is small for everybody. The difference between winning and losing is going to be every play has tremendous magnitude, and so again, just being able to keep your guys hyper focused, the discipline, the details, certainly the mistakes are magnified, but you don't want your guys to play paralyzed either. So know that most games are going to be a 4-quarter game, and being emotionally and technically ready to compete, for 60 minutes week in and week out. I think, when I took this job, Coach Saban and I visited briefly, and he gave me, just that was his not necessarily advice, but the challenge of getting your team ready to compete at the level that you need to compete at. You're not going to sleepwalk your way to a win anywhere. You're not going to sneak up on anybody. The venues present the challenges, and certainly the rosters that you're competing against and the coaching staffs you're competing against. So, you're going on the road is incredibly hard, so, but I don't know how different, how do you want to compare it, but it's, there's not a more challenging, slate conference wise and what you see week in and week out than the SEC.
I know we all like to read into stats, and probably overread into it. But, with John Mateer, he was on a great start, 4-0, 11 total touchdowns. With these last four, only 3 touchdowns since the coming back from the hand injury. How much is that hand affecting what he can do and what he's completely capable of?
I don't know that to the degree. I've seen him. It's been improving, and the velocity, which he's been able to throw. I'm seeing it getting better and better. And you would be, naive in believing that, based on the surgery and again the history, what's behind those injuries, to say that he's going to be back at full speed, as soon as he's fully released. That's going to be a process, and haven't seen a recent scan and whatnot, but he feels good. John's a guy that's never going to make excuses. He loves to play, loves to compete, and he's been very efficient. And so we need to be really good around him. All 3 phases, and when we do that, we'll have a chance to play winning football each and every week. And I think that hand will just continue to get healthier and better, as the season goes on.
Next, we'll go to Mike Griffith of the AJC.
Coach, respect that your focus is on the game this week. Obviously, you guys have had an incredibly difficult schedule. We're trying to keep up with the college football playoff rankings. I know your head's not in that game right now, but I would like to ask you to reflect on the spring meetings and the discussions about going to a 9-game schedule. How much of an emphasis was put on the fact that schedule strength would be modified to reflect a more difficult schedule, and that the SEC should, feel comfortable that if they're playing a more difficult schedule than these other leagues, that would be reflected in the rankings?
Yeah, those were, the 2 components. There's a financial piece, and there's a, strength of schedule piece that would have a chance to separate us from a lot of people. So, again, you're dealing with the human element, and so I don't know the exact, order of importance when they're making a lot of their decisions. And again, quite frankly, I'm going to leave that to everybody else and just find a way to win this week. And so, but those were the 2 kind of major factors in, that decision.
Yeah. The reason I asked is, obviously you guys are behind a team that doesn't have the same schedule strength that you do. But turning the page, I want to ask you about Texas quickly. Georgia's preparing.
Well, now I would just say that just that my mindset is we had a chance to win games and we didn't. So we're in the position that we are, and we had complete and total control over whether or not we won those games. So you win, you take care of business. Everything works out in the end. I firmly believe that.
And in a nutshell, is Georgia and Kirby gets ready for Texas. You obviously had your rivalry game. What did you see from Arch Manning in terms of his improvement and the challenges that you think that they present teams?
Yeah, just what you would expect. He's incredibly talented. He's a young player. The more you play, the better you get. In order to improve and develop, you're going to go through all of it. The good and the bad. Well-managed success is important, but more importantly is well-managed failure, learning from the mistakes and just getting better by competing and learning a lot about yourself and certainly the guys around him. And you've seen him on this upward trajectory like you would expect.
Coach, it's going to be all your time today. Thank you.
Okay, y'all have a great week.